Hi everyone, Katie Montana here. Last time I've talked about what is Jim Henson's Creature Shop, and it's a company. It's the company that was first found in the 1970s. Yeah, I'm actually outside again. This shirt still fits. Still again. Anyway, so ever since when I mentioned about the costumes and everything that they made, now there's something it's about, and it's the costumes. So, how does the Jim Henson Creature Shop costumes work? Well, it's simple. It takes a number of people to do all of this. Now, the way they do it is this. They had to make the costume because it costs money, and the performer wears it just to see how it looks until they have that actor. Like an example, on this documentary show called Movie Magic, water drop from the leaves, of course. So, the way how it works is that it shows a person that's putting on the Bark Troll costume. Bark Troll from the Never Ending Story 3, which I don't have on DVD yet. But again, I'm planning to get it. So you can tell that a Barney harness is actually being put on and everything, of course. And yeah, there's water drops coming from the leaves. Ugh. Sorry about that, everyone. Crappy weather. Stupid rain. And yeah, so anyway, so a body harness is made, and then you can tell that they're putting the costume on, and then just to see how it fits until they're moved to the location. Now, the way how the costume works is this. You see, the head is an animatronic, so the mouth and the eyes can move. So how do they do that? Well, the way they do it, they actually have the head on this thing, and what they actually have is this thing that they use to move the mouth, so they can do the talking and all that. And then on the other side, which is here or here, doesn't matter the way how if they're righty or lefty. The other side has a control, so they can move the eyes and the eyebrows. So, like the blinking and the movements of the eyebrows, like this. Like that. And the person that actually does the talk has to move the thing while talking. Like an example, there's this guy named Richard Keith Coons who was doing the face operating of Bark Troll until there was someone voicing Bark Troll. And the person who played Bark in the Bark Troll costume, his name is Kevin Shaw. That's him. He played Bark Troll in the costume, and he explained about the movements on why he can actually move there. And then another actor named David Foreman, he played Bark Troll, Rock George Jr., who was a naive 3-year-old boulder. And that's him right there. And the behind the scenes of when it was showing just seeing some Blue Jays over there. So, it showed David Foreman. So, David Foreman had the costume on when he was explaining that these are not his real biceps and real arms. And then when he explains that when he laughs, he has to like move the body just to make it come alive, which is pretty good, of course. And there are other ones like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it's the same thing as before. They have to make the costumes and then have different performers to do the movements, and the people that has to operate the head and everything, all that. Same thing, just like with Jim Henson and stuff, of course. But here's something that's different. You see, when these people actually does the mouth movements to do the talking, I actually found this out on a documentary about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1 and 2, both from the 90s, of course. So, they mentioned about voice acting, so they actually need some voice actors to do some voicing when the mouth is moving, of course. But for Jim Henson, that's actually a lot different. Here's an example. The Dark Crystal. You see, the Skeksis are costumes, of course, and they actually have like these control things that they have just to operate the fingers and everything. And the heads are actually a hand puppet, of course. A lot similar, just like with Big Bird from Sesame Street and Bear from Bear in the Big Blue House, of course. And if you're wondering why I have a towel here, these towels here, because this chair is wet from the rain, of course, so I just have to keep myself dry, of course. But anyways, back onto the talk about the Jim Henson Creature Shop costumes. Now, they actually have like a monitor there so they can see on the outside and stuff, but I'll actually talk about that in another video, of course. Now, for Labyrinth, with David Bowie in it, you see, the person who played Hoggle was Shari Weiser, so she played in the costume. And they have puppeteers doing who's actually operating the head, while Shari Weiser does the movements in the costume, of course. And the person who voiced Hoggle was Jim Henson's son, Brian Henson. Yeah, so Brian Henson is the voice of Hoggle. You can actually tell if you actually see the movie and get to the credits, of course. And then there was a person who played Ludo, the big furry friendly friendly hairy monster. So it's a person in the costume, but I noticed that the head is moved and one of the arms moved too. An example, I noticed that the left arm is being moved at certain scenes, and then in some other scenes the right arm's moving, because in the opening on the episode where we see the performer, he's actually moving the head while the other moves the arm. It's a lot similar, just like with Big Bird and Bear. Again, one hand operating the head and doing the mouth movements, and the other arm operating the right arm, of course. While the right arm is actually being moved like this because there's a wire. Yeah. And for the show Fraggle Rock, which I watch, and then there's the new one, Fraggle Rock Back on the Rock, there's Junior Gorg. Now, it's a performer in a costume, of course, and then there's the person who's operating the head, the mouth, and the eyes. And I've noticed, because I've seen this thing with this person named Adam Savage. When they're putting the Junior Gorg, when Morgana was putting on the Junior Gorg costume, and when you look at the face closely, you can tell that the mouth is moving because the person that's there was operating the head, moving the mouth, and here's the thing. You see, you know how that the thing that they use just to go like this, they can also move it like that too and move sideways. When they move sideways, the eyes actually turn. They actually turn left and right, of course. And yeah. And another thing is that when that happens, that's how you can tell. And I noticed that when the person was moving Junior Gorg's eyes sideways, he also had the controls like this to move the eyelids so he can blink. Which is very interesting, of course. Yeah. And then there's some other ones. There are other costumes that they made for other movies. They made the costumes of Five Nights at Freddy's for 2023. So yeah, so the crew of the Jim Henson Creature Shop actually made the costumes. So that way the performer in the costume can do the robotic moves so they can move Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica. And some other person has to use the things to move Foxy, because Foxy isn't the guy in the costume. He just actually kind of goes like this. But now, since the second one is coming, they'll probably do the same thing too. Make the costumes of Toy Freddy, Toy Bonnie, and Toy Chica, and then probably do the same thing with Mango. And yeah, I don't know if there's much more, but oh yeah, there is. Now, another thing that's Jim Henson related, that's Muppets Christmas Carol, which I don't have on Blu-ray and DVD yet. So, they made the costume of the Ghost of Christmas Present. They have a performer in there to do the movements, and the puppeteer operating the head. Stupid water drops. But the person who was actually doing the operating, face operation, and the voice was Jerry Nelson, the guy who does Count on Count, you know, with just the laugh, of course. So yeah, so Jerry Nelson is the voice of the Ghost of Christmas Present, I believe. Hang on, let me look at this up. I just want to see if Jerry Nelson is the Okay, so there's Frank Oz, Okay, so there's... Yep, Jerry Nelson. So he does Tiny Tim and Marson, but I believe he's actually the one who actually did the Ghost of Christmas Present. Oh yes, the Ghost of Christmas Present. Yep. Jerry Nelson is the voice of the Ghost of Christmas Present. I was right. Boy, I'm smart. So yeah. So I believe that's about it about how does the Jim Henson Creature Shop costumes work. And it's simple. They have to use these kind of control things to operate the head. And the person in the costume, and the person in the costume to do the movements, of course, and everything. I gotta say, Jim Henson's Creature Shop's been a really big thing since the 70s. One in London, one in New York, and one in Los Angeles. 3 of them. And the last 2 are still around to this day. Well, be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like, send some comments, and hit the bell button for brand new videos, and I'll see you next time. Peace out, everyone.